Ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be looking at the facets of the businesses and how organizations can look at increasing their revenue sharing, market sharing, and overall profit sharing, because that's the ultimate goal of any organization. So, this is what we are going to be looking at with this presentation. Well, it's very important for any organization to scale, and this is what the goal of this presentation is all about. With this, at the end of this presentation, we'll be able to create certain strategies to attract high value clients. It will help you streamline some of these conversation processes with your customers. It will help you enhance the client retention. And while you do all of these things, you'll be able to optimize the funnels and you'll be able to leverage the ad revenue, ad investments that you would do in order to generate more revenues and increase the overall profit margins. So stay tuned. We have got a lot of things to unpack with this presentation. Now, there's an importance of integrating all the big business buckets. In fact, there are some of the pillars that I'm going to be talking about. So let's deep dive into each one of them. One of the common pitfalls of the entrepreneurs today is they actually prioritize on the immediate lead generation and the sales tactics. It is counterproductive in nature because it leads to ultimately loss of opportunities, and it also leads into the result of a loss of businesses, because that would have been important to focus on so as to have a sustainable growth, but which did not happen because of the narrow focus that the organization had. So what are some of the what are the essential seven business buckets that we'll be looking at with this presentation? It's about lead generation, that of course is one of the immediate needs, but also need nurturing and authority building. It's about the sales and conversion systems, the client delivery and results, fulfillment systems and operations, finance and profitability, and retention and expansion. These are the seven buckets or the seven pillars of the entire strategy that an organization should adopt in order to have a very holistic growth and long term success for the organization. Now, let's look at some of these key strategies. Of course, it's about consistent flow of prospects, the effective use of the ads, and the power of referrals, which is really critical, and the importance of networking, which is very, very important. Now, let's look at these couple of aspects wherein it's very important for the organization to look at the lead nurturing bit of the growth of the organization. Why? Because it actually results in results in establishing trust, and it also leads into turning of the cold prospects into engaged clients. Now, what happens with this? It leads to a very significant role in showcasing the expertise and also helps in providing the value. And this is very important because lead nurturing can only happen with certain ground rules or the disciplines set in the organization, such as consistent follow-up communication. It leads to help maintain interest and address concerns that an organization might have towards a service provider or the solution provider that brings value onto the table. But what happens if somebody neglects these nurturing lead generation practices? It actually leads to the leads going into the cold storage, and it ultimately leads to the loss of interest from the customer, and ultimately those opportunity goes to the competitors, and because of which the ultimate trust building strategy is evaporated because of the no interest in actually paying attention to the nitty-gritties or the finer elements of some of these aspects. And these are very critical because the strategies are going to be ingrained towards the overall holistic growth of the organization, and some of these aspects could all be included as part of the customer testimonials or the case studies that one would adopt to. And it's very critical to reinforce these credibility and encourage the prospects to take the next step in the sales funnel. Now, looking at some of these tools that are there for high conversion rates, now we will double click on each one of them. First of all is the structured call enhanced conversion. So when I say structured call enhanced conversion, it means that it's actually guiding the prospect to the sales process. It's about helping him ensure that all his questions are addressed and all the concerns are alleviated to drive the conversation. This is very important because it actually leads to the profound discovery of the customer's requirement with effective dialogue and communication, and it actually leads to the focus on the client and on the client interactions to give maximum return on investment of your client. The second bit is about the video sales letter. It actually drives a lot of engagement with the customers. So instead of writing long emails, it would make sense to create some the engaging voice narrative to the customer through the use of the powerful storytelling, and it actually brings in a lot of emotional engagement. It lets to convert the cold leads into warm prospects. It also helps in addressing the pain points and provide the solutions that customers typically look for in order to help have effective conversion rates. The third aspect of it is the offer should be irresistible and it should lead to the closing of the sales. So the offer should give tremendous amount of value to the customers, and it's about understanding the target audiences in the first place, and then tailor or customize the solution in such a manner that it is very specific to the requirement which is there for that customer. And this strategy, in fact, helps tremendous conversion rates because prospects feel that their voice has been heard, their issues have been addressed, and it actually helps in gaining significant value. Moving ahead, it's important for an organization or the service provider to prioritize on the client delivery for sustainable growth. So, looking at some of these aspects, it's important that the service provider or the solution delivery expert has got a good customer satisfaction and loyalty. And if this doesn't happen, it actually leads to a cascading effect because ultimately it increases the churn rates, which is the dropout of the customers from the interest of working with you and enabling with you with the businesses, and ultimately it hinders the overall business growth and productivity. Now, what is the fifth bucket that we are talking about here today? It's about the fulfillment systems and operations. So think about these pillars, which are important because any sustainable or successful business has to have a standard operating procedures, which are the set of principles and guidelines that has to be there in order to adopt to the principles and guidelines that an organization functions. And effective delegation, this is important because there would be a lot of team members which would be responsible to ensure that the customer's task is carried out, and it should help in increasing the overall productivity because customer is at the center of everything that has been done. Additionally, last but not the least, it's about the automation because a lot of these tasks which are repetitive in nature could ultimately be leveraged through the use of the technologies and automation processes which are there, and this helps in tremendously saving time, effort, energy of the workforce, which they could otherwise focus more on the strategic and the creative work in order to garner more clients and retain the existing customer. Now let's look at the financial management for the profitability. We are going to be touching upon three pillars here. One is on the management of the profit margins. So effective management of a profit margin is very crucial because if we do not have the profit margin, the organization, the business model will not sustain, and it also involves revenue against cost to ensure profitability and also scale the business operations. Now, what are these terms? The CAC versus LTV. CAC stands for customer acquisition cost, and LTV stands for lifetime value of the customer. And ultimately, it has to be the balance between both of them. But ultimately, it's about the overall lifetime value that a service provider gets out of that relationship with the customer after nurturing the relationship with trust and credibility over a period of time. And this happens obviously because of the informed decisions and also prioritizing some of these strategies to maximize the revenue with a particular customer. Now, it's very important that whatever the revenue that has been generated, these profits should wisely be spent on the marketing and the operational efficiencies. It's very important to further cement the relationship with a new set of customers while bringing in more sustainable growth, while reinvesting the profitability as part of the investment to further grow the business. Now, looking at these two aspects, wherein any organization should effectively be looking at the upselling as well as the cross selling. So, this is very important as far as the negotiation skills are concerned. So, when an upselling happens, the service provider offers clients additional products or services that may complement their original purchase, and it actually helps in enhancing their overall experience and increase the revenue per client. Contrast this with cross selling. It's about promoting related products or services to the existing client, which may not directly be related with the one that they already acquired, but it actually helps in not only boosting our sales, but also provide clients with more value and solution to their needs that a service provider could essentially provide. Now, what are the pitfalls of the narrow focus in business? If these seven aspects are not being taken care of, then what are some of the challenges that an organization or the service provider might foresee? It could actually lead to the paralysis of the organization because the businesses fall short of the profitability that they make, and it's about neglecting one aspect over the other leads to a lot of challenges around the delivery, the customer retention, and profitability. And this oversight creates a leaky bucket, which ultimately stunts the entire growth of the organization because revenue is lost and it jeopardizes the long term relationship with the customer. We will look at some of the power that Meta slash Facebook and Instagram ads are actually providing. So let's double click on these two aspects. One is the hyper targeting capabilities. The Meta AI enables advertisers to reach specific audiences based on detailed demographics, behaviors, and interests. And these are important because it ensures that the price and the promotion and the place have been taken care of so as to take care of the relevant potential customers from that particular region, which could be of interest to even go with the services that a service provider is providing. Then it's all about rapid testing because ultimately, the moment any ad based performance happens through Meta, it's very important to look at the efficacy of how exactly the services strategies have been rolled out so as to optimize the marketing efforts on a real time basis. Moving ahead, so we will look at what are some of the advantages of the ad scalability. Now, while we continue to scale the ad scalability, it actually helps in dynamically budget adjustments because ultimately the ads could essentially lead to more increase in the sales revenue and it ultimately leads to more and more revenue generation for the organization. And it also leads into the rapid market response because while more ads are there is a propensity coming from the market that there would be increased mind share and brand share and the credit and the brand recall that would essentially happen because of the ad spending that would happen. And last but not the least, it also immediately instantaneously increases the visibility because these ads are very targeted to a specific set of customers at a specific place, at a specific price point that a customer would typically look at. Now, how exactly the social media is transforming the way B2B engagement happens? It's a no-brainer that the consumers of Facebook are actually business consumers as well. So Facebook slash Instagram and all of these apparently B2C platforms could essentially help in garnering more and more engagement, more and more businesses, and profitability for even B2B customers as well. And that's the strategy that we should be looking at in order to leverage the power of these platforms so as to provide the right set of information and connection which is relevant to the particular industry that a customer would typically look at. And these this platform allows the businesses to reach to their target audience where they spend more time, and it increases the overall visibility and potential engagement. Now, what is the role of the retargeting in sales? It's very essential to look at this aspect because the strategy on these platforms, it actually helps in reinforcing the brand recognition or the brand recall value of a particular service provider, and it also leads into the interest of a business, of a customer, that could potentially have a more sense because of the familiarity, and it actually makes it more repetitive in the mind of the customer to actually engage with somebody who is kind of putting tremendous amount of effort towards retargeting on the sales while generating more and more targeted ad generation. Now we will look at the effective high ticket sales model. There are two pointers out there to discuss here as far as the what should be some of the strategies around high ticket sales models are. So let's dive right in and look at the first aspect. It's about structured funnel process. It's very important to have a structured funnel process to effectively drive the high ticketing sales. And while you do that, it actually leads into effective conversion of the leads into high paying clients. And it actually attracts a lot of customers because your ads are targeted, and a persuasive video sales letter could essentially be able to drive a lot of attention of a prospective client who could otherwise be able to give you business that you are looking for in order to increase the overall profitability of the organization. Additionally, this approach helps in high ticket selling items because it's very personalized in nature, and it involves multiple touch points through various aspects of targeted ads as well as video based sales letter that one would send to the prospect to nurture the lead in a very healthy and effective manner. Now, it's a no-brainer that it increases the revenue because any high-ticket sales could fall between $5,000 or $50,000. There could be hypothetical range in India. It could be somewhere close to 1 lakh to 5 lakh rupees, and it significantly impacts the growth and the optimization of the funnel. When this happens and it's executed correctly, this model significantly enhance the revenue and profitability by increasing the average transaction value and attracts clients who are ready to invest in the premium solutions. All right. So, lastly, we look for the power of the paid advertising. It's important for the rapid customer acquisition, and therefore, if one look at some of these aspects, wherein the the results are targeted and measurable, which enables all level of control that leads to organic method which otherwise referrals cannot match. And these organic strategies can be valuable. They often result in slower growth and less productivity. Now, let's look at some of these steps. Of course, ad, as we spoke about, and then the landing page, which is really critical for the conversion, the video sales letter we spoke about, and also some of these aspects around the application for the application form for the qualifying leads, and also the sales call that happens. So anything, these are all the aspects, these are all the pillars which should be very personalized and customized, tailor made to the requirement of a specific prospect, so to say. Now, we will look at some of these aspects of how exactly to break the funnel. So, if you further deep dive into some of these aspects, wherein it's about attention grabbing ad hook. So, the ads, while it is targeted in nature, there should be the hook which should essentially lead to understand, identify, and resolve the pain point that could essentially a target customer could resonate. So it's proactively looking at and assessing the situation or the problem statement of a customer to engage with the customer in a very holistic manner. The next bit is about the landing page design, which is very critical because it has to be very clear, it has to be very simple in terms of its headline, and it actually articulates and communicates a lot of benefits for the customer, because it ultimately leads into the conversion with absolute structure and clarity. The opt-in form, it should encourage the users to sign up because of the value that the landing page itself is providing. Now, the video sales letter has to be very compelling because it should articulate the key pain points which are established as part of the authority, and it provides a proof of the solution's effectiveness and include testimonials to build trust and potential clients. Now, effective conversion through funnel. The funnel effectively transform unfamiliar leads into engaged prospects, and it's very important that paying customers in just 24 to 48 hours, it can help you derive that equation with the customer, because you have actually targeted with VSL, and this rapid conversion leads into the result of addressing the key pain points and also ultimately build the trust so that the customer could be retained for a sustained and repeated business over a period of time. Now, what are some of the reasons for shrinking margins? Of course, the rising ad cost, which is very critical, and that has to be done in such a manner that the priority has well defined. It's very important to look at the overall goal to identify what exactly could be prioritized immediately as opposed to at a later point. But ultimately, it's about leading to fewer leads and sales, because the increase of the ad cost has actually reduced the profit margin. So it's actually a given situation, and the delivery process is really inefficient, because while the sales has happened, the post sales leads to a lot of operational chaos, and it leads to delays and dissatisfaction among the customers, and ultimately results in the increased churn and reduced margins. Last but not the least, the performance tracking metrics are not been identified in a proper manner, and because of which there are all these inadequate strategies and inefficient way of putting all the implementations, because of which there is a ton of time being wasted on resources, and it ultimately leads into the shrinking margins. Now, we already looked at this aspect, but they are really important for us. So moving on, the ad spend and the lead generation. When this is a classic study wherein if there is a spending of $10,000 dollars, so to say, and if one is able to generate 1,000 leads out of it, and per click costed $10,000, it would essentially make sense to have 50 calls and ultimately closing 10 clients, and that will be resulting in a substantial return on the investment of the ad, and also it will showcase the effectiveness in the ad spending as well. Now, the revenue and profitability is very critical, because 10 clients can generate a total of $100,000, and it increases the overall profit margin to 90%. And this is just an example to show the benefit of how exactly this could potentially lead to a lot of businesses. Now, the effective scaling principles, there are these guidelines. So just avoid spending more. If one strategy has worked out in the past, does not mean that it will work again. And optimize some of these conversations which are there, leading to a lot of ad refining and targeting towards the specific customer. So that metric has to be there so as to optimize the conversation, and enhance the sales process, which means provide some of these aspects of improving the sales process, training the team, and also identify some new sales techniques which are really, really critical for the customers. Now, focus on the delivery bit, which is really important, because once the sales is closed, it's very important to have the same level of value given to the customer to retain him for the subsequent future businesses and opportunities as well. Now, successful scaling essentials, which are nothing but it's critical to the businesses to scale the functionality and customer acquisition cost. It leads into high customer lifetime value and implement streamlined fulfillment processes. Now, these are very important, So let's wrap everything together as part of the final summary. So it's very important that the businesses has to be scaled with all the strategies that we looked at in this presentation, and there should be different methods or channels adopted for the faster acquisition, and also look at some of the effective conversation funnel as well. And it's very important for the profitability as well, because ultimately any business would essentially thrive on the profitability and the bottom line margin which is there. So thank you so much for your time and patiently listening to this presentation. I hope you liked it. And if there are some key takeaways, please use them in your business productivity and growth as well. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great rest of the day.